Welcome back, Rebel. This is another episode of the Health Rebels podcast, and today it's a really special presentation. This weekend I was invited to give a talk at the local Spokane Buddhist Temple, and I recorded the audio. The topic was, can fitness be Buddhist? And I'm going to share it with you today. Now, don't run off. I know it's an unusual title, but no, you do not have to be Buddhist to get benefit from today's topic. As you know, here at Health Rebels, we're always focusing on redefining healthy habits that are realistic and really stick. We're really interested in changing our approach, changing our mindset around healthy habits. And that's what today's topic really is. Changing the way that we approach healthy habits so that they can stick and give us more fulfillment, more satisfaction, and less yuckiness, right? We don't want yucky. Ew. Anyway, hey, and I do have to also give you a little disclaimer, full honesty. I don't consider myself to be a Buddhist. I have read several of the sutras. I've read the Lotus Sutra. I've read some of the Pali Canon. I've read a couple of the Zen koans. And I've definitely been informed by that philosophy, by that approach. And you're going to hear about that, especially in the last half of today's episode. But you don't need to be Buddhist to get benefit out of today's topic. Today's topic is really going to be about shifting our perspectives around health and wellness and healthy habits in a way that benefits us and is sustainable. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And just to let you know, it was a short talk that I gave this weekend. I didn't want to stretch my time or go too far beyond. So I'm going to come back at the end of the talk and I'm going to give you a few more tips of how we can actually apply the mindset lessons that I share in the talk and how you can apply that to healthy habits today. So make sure you stick around for that. And I hope you enjoy today's episode of the Health Rebels podcast. Can fitness be Buddhist?
There's a story of a traveling monk that was going through the largest cities in America. And as he went through Tulsa, Oklahoma, one of the CEOs of the largest companies there came to visit him. Now, the CEO had been successful in every measure you can imagine and got to the top of his industry and got all the material wealth, was invited to all the social events and had everything that you could desire. But when it was his turn to talk with the monk, he said simply, "I want happiness." And the monk told him it was really simple. First, remove want. Want is desire, and attachment to desire breeds suffering. Second, he said, remove I. I is the ego, and attachment to the ego breeds suffering. When you remove I and want, all that's left is happiness. This has been a challenging talk to prepare for. Being invited into a Buddhist temple to talk about fitness. How does one do this respectfully, especially about fitness, right? If we think about fitness, isn't it all about ego and desire? People join fitness programs saying, I want six-pack abs. I want bigger chest muscles, bigger arms. I want to run a marathon. I want to get skinny. I want. Well, is anyone familiar with the parable of chop wood, carry water? So it's told that there was a student that came to a remote mountainous temple in Japan. And after enlisting, seeking his own nirvana, seeking his own enlightenment, asked the masters there, and he said, Sifu, how may I reach enlightenment? And the master told him each day, chop wood and carry water. You see, in a remote mountainous temple, they needed firewood to cook their foods, to provide for their body, but also to provide warmth throughout the night as the cold mountain air blew through the temple. And being remote, they didn't have plumbing. They needed a hike to the top of the mountain to get to the alpine lake and carry buckets of water back down to provide hydration throughout the day, to stir into their food, to clean their bodies and to clean their temples. And it was something that wasn't guaranteed. It needed to be provided every day by chopping wood and carrying water. Several months go by, and this student, chopping wood and carrying water each day, comes back to the masters and says, Sifu, after enlightenment, what do I do then? And the master said, after enlightenment. Chop wood, carry water. You see, the habits that provide and protect for our vessels are the same habits that allow us to practice mindfulness, presence, to practice oneness with all that is around us. As you chop wood, you need to be very focused on the axe and on the form and on the swing of the blade. An errant swipe of the axe might cost you a shin, an unpleasant experience for sure. So you're very focused in the moment as you chop wood. When you're carrying water down the mountains, the burning sensation in the arms, the respiration, the increased breathing rate, the increased heart rate, the perspiration on your skin, it's impossible to be anywhere else but feeling that moment. It is in these habits that provide and protect for our vessels that we can also practice presence. Hopefully, these are the same things that we can say about healthy habits, right? When we are doing resistance training exercises, watching the form so we don't drop a dumbbell on our face, another unpleasant experience, not quite as unpleasant as an axe, but we want to be present. We want to make sure that we're doing things correctly. We can be nowhere else but in that exercise, in that moment. When you're doing aerobic activity and feeling the burn in the quads or the huffing and puffing in the lungs and the beating of your heart, it's hard to be anywhere else but in this moment. Yes, it provides and protects for the vessel, but it also allows us to practice presence. One last lesson to leave today, another story for you, comes from the life of Siddhartha Gautama. Hopefully that was pronounced correctly. But as we know, Siddhartha began his life as an Indian prince, someone born into a life of luxury, life of decadence, a life of ease, everything that he could want. And yet in the courtyards, there was still suffering. There wasn't that inner peace or tranquility. There was turmoil. And so Buddha, before he became the enlightened one, went out and tried the path of the wandering ascetic, became a Brahmin, and found that deprivation, the extreme avoidance and denial of self also didn't bring peace. It also led to suffering and turmoil. And eventually, meditating under the tree, he found the middle path that led to his nirvana, his enlightenment. With fitness, with healthy habits, we often see the extremes, the polar edges, right? With the keto diet, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, with high intensity workouts and CrossFit workouts, we're always pushing to the limits. We're always going extremes. Or when we find that doesn't work, sometimes we turn the switch off completely, fall into sloven habits, fall into sedentary habits, fall into eating habits of just disregard and non-mindfulness. But there is a middle way. There is a simpler path. There is a middle path, a way to avoid the extremes in healthy habits, to just provide and protect for your vessel, to just do the things that allow you to put your best foot forward. It doesn't need to be an extreme approach. So hopefully after this brief conversation, if you've in the past struggled with fitness or healthy habits because it is so rooted in ego, rooted in desire, rooted in extreme behaviors, I want to encourage you to chop wood, carry water, to practice mindfulness and presence as you provide and protect for your vessel along the middle path. Thank you.
Hey, so at the end of that, really brief mention on one of the most important lessons I think there is, and that was the middle path. Look, in this world that's super divisive right now, where we're always so polarized and going to extreme edges, I think that's one of the most important lessons in general to the quality of life, but it's also one of the lessons that I've used a lot in my health and fitness and what I encourage with clients as well. That has been the lesson that's been most influential to me as I've read some Buddhist philosophy and as I've studied stuff. Nothing has been as impactful as the middle path. But what does that look like in fitness? Well, we talked briefly about kind of the extremes, right? Going high intensity on exercise or going really deprived in diet. And then the opposite side of that, right? Of turning things off and being lazy, being sedentary, or eating in excess or eating without concerns, right? We know those two polar opposites. So somewhere in the middle is where I talk to my clients about checking the box. A lot of times with a lot of my clients, sometimes to get them up to standards or to pull them back so they're not hurting themselves, causing injuries or overuse of the body, we talk about check the box mentality, right? We set some standards of things that we're looking to do. Like I want my clients to get about 7,000 steps a day or more. Check the box with daily activity, right? With each week, I'm looking for some intentional, deliberate exercise, 3 to 5 days a week. Check the box. When you're in that workout, we're just looking to check the box 10 to 15 minutes. You can check the box, right? We want to ensure that programs are balanced. To get into the weeds, I often tell people there are 7 classes of exercise. 6 of them are necessary. One of them is kind of a bonus treat, depending on individual goals. But the 6 moves that I always encourage people to do is to have some sort of squat, some sort of posterior chain, some sort of single leg, an upper body push, an upper body pull, and some sort of core. As long as we're checking the box, getting one of those at least during the week, and then we want to try to balance the ratios and keep that balance to each other. But as long as we're checking the box, you're good to go. With nutrition, the last podcast episode was just the 3 Ps, right? That's checking the box mentality. It's not super diligent, not super detailed about nutrition, but it's also not caring, right? It's not going and turning off, but it's just checking the box. Where are my proteins? Where are my plants? Where are my portions? Check the box. So that's what I recommend for a lot of healthy habits as the bare minimum. Check the box. Check the box mentality allows you to follow that middle path to healthy habits that are pretty sustainable and really fulfilling and kind of gives that inner peace, that inner tranquility, that minimum, that check the box standard, get it done. Just do it to protect the vessel, to provide for the vessel, to practice your mindfulness, to practice your being in the moment, and just to keep you kind of in the middle. Just check the box. Anything above and beyond that you go beyond checking the box is awesome. That's great bonus territory. But we're looking at checking the box mentality for our standards. So I hope all in all, I hope this helps shift some of your views around healthy habits, some of your views around what fitness is and what fitness should be. And if this changed your thought process around fitness or around healthy habits, I encourage you to be a fellow health rebel by sharing today's episode. If you go down to the bottom, hit that share icon. I would love it if you could share this with someone that you know, someone that you love and respect, and share this so that we can make a difference in their world and they can be a health rebel, redefining health standards, breaking standards, and creating healthy habits that are realistic and really stick. Awesome. Thank you. I hope this was a good episode for you today. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Should I do more off-topic topics that you would not expect, but get benefit from anyway? Let me know down in the comments. How did you take today's episode? Did this serve you? Did this benefit you? I look forward to hearing from you soon. Awesome. Have a great day, and I'll talk with you next week for the next episode of the Health Rebels Podcast.